I'm not going to do a top 6, I'm just going to disregard quickly who I don't consider to be scary. So Roger Moore and Lazenby get the chop. Roger did at times show a harder edge, but his decision-making on the whole always came across as thoroughly cooked. He didn't act on impulse, so as a result, he always appeared very level-headed. I can't really find that scary. Even though Connery always carried with him a threat of violence, the filmmakers always seemed to shoot him in neutral lighting. Maybe neutral is underselling it. Even if he was doing contemptible things, all his scenes are like furniture advertisements. I don't want my ranking of Connery to give the impression that I don't consider him to be scary. He is scary. Since we know he has no problems hitting women, it begs the question, just how far would he go?
You sound like a cop to me.
Who's your connection?
Can you imagine if Connery was the one getting revenge on Irma Bunt for shooting his wife dead? In the book, apparently Bond strangles her to death. Wouldn't that have been great? Can you imagine Connery like throttling her and oh, that would have been so good. Sorry, I'm into things like that. Moving on. That being said, I'd give Connery 4th position.
Bitch.
When we are introduced to Craig, it's of him beating the contact to death. We aren't given much context as to why he's doing this, and the fight ends with Craig looking like a thug. This is our introduction to his sadism. The same thing is done in Connery's first film. He lands in Jamaica and figures out that his Uber is not who he says he is. He knows there's a threat, but he has a sort of a smirk like he's about to have some fun. And this is his fun. It's the same type of sadism, only packaged differently.
Now talk.
I can see why people would find Craig scary. Listen, even I'm taking a backward step here. His cold stare is accentuated by the filmmakers, and a bit too much for my liking. You know, if you look at Connery and Dalton, when it was required, they had that intensity, but I'm sure they would know how to drop it while walking a corgi, or hanging out with the Queen. He's a spy. He needs to blend in. He can't just walk around with a face like thunder. I just found Craig's measurements to be slightly off, but again, I'm sure people found it scary, and it seems to have been deliberate, so yeah. He's 3rd for me. It has occurred to me that Dalton and Craig have quite similar intros. They both have brutal fights in the first 10 minutes, but the difference is, with Dalton, there's context. I know why he's chasing this man down. The film hasn't started off with this.
Hold on, you're dead!
The one thing that's missing from Dalton's introduction is a close-up like this. He will get one of sorts later on, but once again, it will be motivated by the story. There's meat on the bone. I've made a video about this, and I'm sure you've already seen it. What, you haven't? Okay. Well, this close-up was the first time in 25 years where Bond would be shown in this kind of sinister light. What's scary about this close-up is that it's basically showing him as a psychopath. Not like that, but like a restrained psychopath. Bond is intelligent, he's a spy. He knows how to guard his ulterior motives and what's bubbling underneath. But with this close-up, he struggles to. There's a reason why he looks in the opposite direction when he delivers this line. Instead of her seeing him this way, we the audience get to see it.
Yes. I got the message. He's with Whitaker in Tangier.
This type of shot is usually reserved for the bad guys and supervillains.
And you've never found anything?
Once. But by the time I got to a phone, my discovery had already been reported by Principal Kohotek. I got back at him, though. Him and that little boy of his. Anyway.
You breaking my balls here, You breaking my balls.
I'm sorry, but the UN must be firm with you. Let me see your whole palace, or else.
Or else what?
Or else we will be very, very angry with you. And we will write you a letter telling you how angry we are.
Listen, I know I have my work cut out here trying to convince you that Brosnan is scary, but just bear with me, okay? My definition of scary might be different to the rest of you, but I found Brosnan sitting cool as a cucumber one moment, and then BANG! Showing something completely different in the next. I found that intimidating. I don't know if it's because of the false sense of security, but what I do know is that when Brosnan dropped the mask, I was always on the edge of my seat.
Let's count to 3. You can do that, can't you? 1, 2.
I'm just a professional doing a job.
Me too.
I know I said before that it wasn't a big deal, but he's the only Bond that has ever fired his load at women, and on both occasions he showed absolutely no hesitation in doing so.
By the way, did you find out who betrayed you in North Korea?
Only a matter of time.
You never thought of looking inside your own organization? She was right under your nose.
It was so good of you to bring your gun to bed with us.
Yes. Occupational hazard.
You could argue on that level that he's the most violent. I've seen him in other films, and if he had been given the opportunity, I reckon he could have been even more sinister. He had it in him.
What goes on in this town is none of your business.
As long as I'm living here, it is.
Then maybe you shouldn't be living here!
Well, that's easily fixed.
That was a joke. I was joking.
How you know? If you ever lay a finger on my daughter again, I will tear you limb from limb. Now, where is she?
Under a factory. On the first floor.
Right.
But I associate thuggery with a lack of intelligence. But we know Bond is intelligent. And with Brosnan, and with Dalton, it was like they had thought deeply about the evil they face in the world, and their violence was the conclusion they came to. Brosnan in particular was very skillful in how he got you to sympathise with his violence. You know, we actually learn more about Brosnan's Bond in the first 20 minutes of Die Another Day than we do in the entirety of his other films put together. I can't believe it either, so let's see what we learn. Well, the first is, when he conducts a military-style operation, he always has a plan B if things go tits up. The second is, he waits for evidence of weapons before blowing shit up, so making him morally superior to the Labour Party. His liver is not too good. Okay, this is surface level analysis, okay? I want to go a bit deeper. So even though he is left to rot by his own government in North Korea, he still doesn't give up their secrets. I guess that shows his loyalty, but also that he doesn't consider himself as exceptional, and just sees himself as another expendable foot soldier.
Your people have abandoned you. Your very existence denied. Why stay silent?
With the drugs they were giving you, you wouldn't know what you did or didn't say.
I know the rules. And number 1 is no deals. Get caught and you're giving up.
we learn that if Bond was ever in a position where he was about to be killed for real, he would accept his situation pretty quickly, isn't too keen on small talk, or even hearing me finish this analysis.
Let's get this over with, shall we?
I also think Brosnan gives his best acting as Bond when he looks like Jesus. I don't know if anyone else agrees, but if you do, bless you. I don't know if this is a gag. If it is, it's pretty funny. So look how the communists send their prisoners of war back to us, and how we send ours back to them. Didn't even take out the diamonds! I don't know, guess it would have infringed on his human rights. Something like that. When Bond gets out of the gulag, you'll notice that he gestures a lot more with his hands, and this is quite common in people that survive torture and have PTSD, so it's great acting by Brosnan.
They concluded you cracked under torture and were hemorrhaging information. We had to get you out.
And what do you think?
He very much humanises these extreme emotions, so it really gives context. It's lighting the fuse on what was potentially to come. I think everyone knows that nothing was to come in this film.